This video is scripted, edited and written by Nihar Dash. This video is scripted, edited and written by Nihar Dash.
Evolution of Monkey to Human, which is written by Nihar Dash for public domain purpose only. Evolution is the evolutionary process within the history of primates that led to the emergence of Homo sapiens as a distinct species of the hominid family, which includes the great apes. This process involved the gradual development of traits such as human bipedalism and language, as well as interbreeding with other hominins, which indicate that human evolution was not linear but a web. The hominoids are descendants of a common ancestor. The study of human evolution involves several scientific disciplines, including physical anthropology, evolutionary anthropology, primatology, archaeology, paleontology, neurobiology, ethology, linguistics, evolutionary psychology, embryology and genetics. Genetic studies show that primates diverged from other mammals about 85 million years ago, in the late Cretaceous period, and the earliest fossils appear in the Paleocene, around 55 million years ago. Within the superfamily Hominoidea, the family Hominidae, great apes, diverged from the family Hylobatidae, gibbons, some 15 to 20 million years ago. Subfamily Hominini, African apes, diverged from Ponginae, a.
Goshtek.
Orangutans, about 14 million years ago. The tribe Hominin, including humans, Australopithecus, and chimpanzees, parted from the tribe Gorillini, gorillas, between 8 to 9 million years ago. And, in turn, the subtribes Hominin, humans and extinct biped ancestors, and Parnina, chimpanzees, separated 4 to 7 million years ago. Anatomically modern humans appeared in Africa approximately 300,000 years ago. So here is our list, which is written by Nihar Dash for public domain purpose only. 1. Anatomical changes. 1. Anatomical changes. 1. Anatomical changes. Human evolution from its first separation from the last common ancestor of humans and chimpanzees is characterized by a number of morphological, developmental, physiological, behavioral, and environmental changes. Environmental, cultural, evolution discovered much later during the Pleistocene played a significant role in human evolution. Observed via human transitions between subsistence systems. The most significant of these adaptations are bipedalism, increased brain size, lengthened ontogeny, gestation and infancy, and decreased sexual dimorphism. The relationship between these changes is the subject of ongoing debate. Other significant morphological changes included the evolution of a power and precision grip, a change first occurring in H. erectus. 2. Bipedalism. 2. Bipedalism. 2. Bipedalism. Bipedalism shown by a man and a woman. Bipedalism is the basic adaptation of the hominid and is considered the main cause behind a suite of skeletal changes shared by all bipedal hominids. The earliest hominin, of presumably primitive bipedalism, is considered to be either Sahelanthropus or Orrorin, both of which arose some 6 to 7 million years ago. The non-bipedal knuckle walkers, the gorillas and chimpanzees, diverged from the hominin line over a period covering the same time. So either Sahelanthropus or Orrorin may be our last shared ancestor. Ardipithecus, a full biped, arose approximately 5.6 million years ago. The early bipeds eventually evolved into the Australopithecines and still later into the genus Homo. There are several theories of the adaptation value of bipedalism. It is possible that bipedalism was favored because it freed the hands for reaching and carrying food, saved energy during locomotion, enabled long-distance running and hunting, provided an enhanced field of vision, and helped avoid hypothermia by reducing the surface area exposed to direct sun. Features all advantageous for thriving in the new savanna and woodland environment created as a result of the East African Rift Valley uplift versus the previous closed forest habitat. A 2007 study provides support for the hypothesis that walking on two legs or bipedalism, evolved because it used less energy than quadrupedal knuckle walking. However, recent studies suggest that bipedality without the ability to use fire would not have allowed global dispersal. This change in gait saw a lengthening of the legs proportionately when compared to the length of the arms, which were shortened through the removal of the need for brachiation. Another change is the shape of the big toe. Recent studies suggest that Australopithecines still lived part of the time in trees as a result of maintaining a grasping big toe. This was progressively lost in habilines. 3. Encephalization. 3. Encephalization. 3. Encephalization. Skulls of successive or near successive, depending on the source, human evolutionary ancestors, up until modern Homo sapiens. Tarankan Maya million years ago, kya 1,000 years ago. Brain size and tooth size in hominins. The human species eventually developed a much larger brain than that of other primates. Typically 1330 cc. 81 ku in. In modern humans, nearly 3 times the size of a chimpanzee or gorilla brain. After a period of stasis with Australopithecus anamnesis and Ardipithecus, species which had smaller brains as a result of their bipedal locomotion. The pattern of encephalization started with Homo habilis, whose 600 cc. 37 ku in. brain was slightly larger than that of chimpanzees. This evolution continued in Homo erectus with 800 to 1100 cc. 49 to 67 ku in. And reached a maximum in Neanderthals with 1200 to 1900 cc. 73 to 116 ku in. Larger even than modern Homo sapiens. This brain increase manifested during postnatal brain growth, far exceeding that of other apes. Heterochrony. It also allowed for extended periods of social learning and language acquisition in juvenile humans, beginning as much as 2 million years ago. Encephalization may be due to a dependency on calorie-dense, difficult to acquire food. 4. Sexual dimorphism. 4. Sexual dimorphism. 4. Sexual dimorphism. The reduced degree of sexual dimorphism in humans is visible primarily in the reduction of the male canine tooth relative to other ape species, except gibbons, and reduced brow ridges and general robustness of males. Another important physiological change related to sexuality in humans was the evolution of hidden oestrus. Humans are the only hominoids in which the female is fertile year-round and in which no special signals of fertility are produced by the body, such as genital swelling or overt changes in proceptivity during oestrus. Nonetheless, humans retain a degree of sexual dimorphism in the distribution of body hair and subcutaneous fat, and in the overall size, males being around 15% larger than females. These changes taken together have been interpreted as a result of an increased emphasis on pair bonding as a possible solution to the requirement for increased parental investment due to the prolonged infancy of offspring. 5. Ulna Opposition. 5. Ulna Opposition. 5. Ulna Opposition. The ulnar opposition, the contact between the thumb and the tip of the little finger of the same hand, is unique to the genus Homo, including Neanderthals, the Sima de los Huesos hominins and anatomically modern humans. In other primates, the thumb is short and unable to touch the little finger. The ulnar opposition facilitates the precision grip and power grip of the human hand, underlying all the skilled manipulations. 6. Before Darwin. 6. Before Darwin. 6. Before Darwin. The word Homo, the name of the biological genus to which humans belong, is Latin for human. It was chosen originally by Carl Linnaeus in his classification system. The word human is from the Latin humanus, the adjectival form of homo. The Latin homo derives from the Indo-European root tarankandham, or earth. Linnaeus and other scientists of his time also considered the great apes to be the closest relatives of humans based on morphological and anatomical similarities. 7. Darwin. 7. Darwin. 7. Darwin. The possibility of linking humans with earlier apes by descent became clear only after 1859 with the publication of Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species. in which he argued for the idea of the evolution of new species from earlier ones. Darwin's book did not address the question of human evolution, saying only that light will be thrown on the origin of man and his history.
उद्धरण
The first debates about the nature of human evolution arose between Thomas Henry Huxley and Richard Owen. Huxley argued for human evolution from apes by illustrating many of the similarities and differences between humans and other apes, and did so particularly in his 1863 book Evidence as to Man's Place in Nature. Many of Darwin's early supporters, such as Alfred Russel Wallace and Charles Lyell, did not initially agree that the origin of the mental capacities and the moral sensibilities of humans could be explained by natural selection, though this later changed. Darwin applied the theory of evolution and sexual selection to humans in his 1871 book The Descent of Man, and Selection in Relation to Sex. 8 First Fossils. 8 First Fossils. 8 First Fossils. A major problem in the 19th century was the lack of fossil intermediaries. Neanderthal remains were discovered in a limestone quarry in 1856, 3 years before the publication of On the Origin of Species, and Neanderthal fossils had been discovered in Gibraltar even earlier. But it was originally claimed that these were the remains of a modern human who had suffered some kind of illness. Despite the 1891 discovery by Eugene Dubois of what is now called Homo erectus at Trinil, Java, it was only in the 1920s when such fossils were discovered in Africa that intermediate species began to accumulate. In 1925, Raymond Dart described Australopithecus africanus. The type specimen was the toned child, an Australopithecine infant which was discovered in a cave. The child's remains were a remarkably well-preserved tiny skull and an endocast of the brain. Although the brain was small, 410 centimeter,
अल्पविराम
its shape was rounded, unlike that of chimpanzees and gorillas, and more like a modern human brain. Also, the specimen showed short canine teeth, and the position of the foramen magnum, the hole in the skull where the spine enters, was evidence of bipedal locomotion. All of these traits convinced Dart that the toned child was a bipedal human ancestor, a transitional form between apes and humans. 9. The East African fossils. 9. The East African fossils. 9. The East African fossils. Fossil hominid evolution display at the Museum of Osteology, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, U.S. During the 1960 and 1970, hundreds of fossils were found in East Africa in the regions of the Olduvai Gorge and Lake Turkana. These searches were carried out by the Leakey family, with Louis Leakey and his wife Mary Leakey, and later their son Richard and daughter-in-law Maeve, fossil hunters and paleoanthropologists. From the fossil beds of Olduvai and Lake Turkana they amassed specimens of the early hominins, the Australopithecines and Homo species, and even Homo erectus. These finds cemented Africa as the cradle of humankind. In the late 1970s and the 1980s, Ethiopia emerged as the new hotspot of paleoanthropology after Lucy, the most complete fossil member of the species Australopithecus afarensis, was found in 1974 by Donald Johansson near Hudder in the desertic Afar Triangle region of northern Ethiopia. Although the specimen had a small brain, the pelvis and leg bones were almost identical in function to those of modern humans, showing with certainty that these hominins had walked erect. Lucy was classified as a new species, Australopithecus afarensis, which is thought to be more closely related to the genus Homo as a direct ancestor, or is a close relative of an unknown ancestor, than any other known hominid or hominin from this early time range. See terms, hominid, and hominin.
कोष्टक
The specimen was nicknamed Lucy, after the Beatles' song, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which was played loudly and repeatedly in the camp during the excavations.
कोष्टक
The Afar Triangle area would later yield discovery of many more hominin fossils, particularly those uncovered or described by teams headed by Tim D. White in the 1990s, including Ardipithecus ramidus and Ardipithecus kadabba. 10. The Genetic Revolution. 10. The Genetic Revolution. 10. The Genetic Revolution. The genetic revolution in studies of human evolution started when Vincent Surich and Alan Wilson measured the strength of immunological cross-reactions of blood serum albumin between pairs of creatures, including humans and African apes, chimpanzees and gorillas. The strength of the reaction could be expressed numerically as an immunological distance, which was in turn proportional to the number of amino acid differences between homologous proteins in different species. By constructing a calibration curve of the ID of species pairs with known divergence times in the fossil record, the data could be used as a molecular clock to estimate the times of divergence of pairs with poorer or unknown fossil records. In their seminal 1967 paper in Science, Surich and Wilson estimated the divergence time of humans and apes as 4 to 5 million years ago, at a time when standard interpretations of the fossil record gave this divergence as at least 10 to as much as 30 million years. Subsequent fossil discoveries, notably Lucy, and reinterpretation of older fossil materials, notably Ramapithecus, showed the younger estimates to be correct and validated the albumin method. Progress in DNA sequencing, specifically mitochondrial DNA, ntDNA, and then Y chromosome DNA, advanced the understanding of human origins. Application of the molecular clock principle revolutionized the study of molecular evolution.